Hi, hi.
Hmm. Namaste.
Namaste.
Mhm.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, I apologize so much for forgetting last week.
Well, we're here now, aren't we?
Exactly. Mhm.
Our oldest, Liana, um, just got into medical school.
Oh, good. Congratulations. For
Yeah,
her.
it's a yeah,
Mm.
it's a huge accomplishment, and we're very, very proud and happy for her.
Mm. Do you have to go through a lot to get in, even? Or-
Well, she was preparing really for 7 years. I mean,
Oh,
everything she did in high school and college was organized around being ready to apply.
okay.
Then there were big tests to take, and then
Mm.
there was 20 different schools she applied to, and
Mm.
then about half of them asked for a secondary application,
Mm.
and then two of them here in Washington State wanted to do interviews with
Mm.
her. And the first one, the one that would be most convenient and her first choice,
Mm.
rejected her a few weeks ago.
Mm.
So it was devastating.
No way. Mm.
And then and there was no plan B,
Mm.
because when you're not quite 25, you don't make a plan B.
Yeah, of course.
And then just last week, she got a call saying, "We'd like you to speak with the dean of the medical school at another Washington State school."
Okay.
And that was a signal that she'd been accepted. And Monday was the
Okay.
confirmation, and today is a bit of celebration.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Mm.
we're very proud and happy for her.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Mm.
a little taste of bliss.
Yeah.
And that's what this chapter is about.
Yeah, what chapter are we on?
Chapter 24.
Oh, yeah, I thought so. I was just looking on. I remember you said it was about bliss. And then I see the name is Attainment of Bliss by the Conviction of the Blissful Nature.
And Ribu says, "Son, in this discourse, I shall tell you further about the greatness of the anguishless, undivided supreme bliss of Brahman, as explained by the Lord of all the universe, the Supreme Lord. All is the undivided, complete, perfectly full, unsurpassed, blissful Supreme Brahman alone. Be happy in the tireless understanding that that mass of bliss, the Supreme Brahman, is myself."
Like part of that bliss that you're probably experiencing from your daughter getting into medical school is like she put so much effort into trying to get into it, like, and so much all what she had to do. And now, like, she can let go of all that, so it's not just in getting what you want because it's like a great thing or something, but it's also in like you can let go of all that effort of like trying to achieve something. It's like,
Mm, relief.
yeah, like there's a lot of energy, so
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
I get it. What Reba's doing here in the first 18 verses or so, it's
Mm.
bliss, bliss, bliss. And then it seems like he's trying to bring us to a real focus of attention when he has several verses where he's talking about only one thing.
Mm.
And the verses go, only one thing is. And then, and then he follows that series of verses with direct instructions for liberation.
Wow, that sounds fantastic.
Can you tell I've been reading this chapter for a while?
Yeah. Can you tell I've probably never read it before?
What a great discovery then. So I'm jumping forward to verse I think 16. Now the whole chapter only has 32, 33 verses, so we can cover the whole thing if we jump forward a little bit.
Okay.
And because Amba's here and we're here, we can sort of pivot off the bliss that's already present.
Yeah.
And when I think, honestly, when I think bliss, I think Amba, because she's right here. It's so beautiful. So, verse 16, I myself am the supreme bliss, which is of the nature of the indescribable. I myself am the supreme bliss, which is self-luminous. I myself am the supreme bliss, which is the difficult to attain fourth state. I myself am the supreme bliss, which transcends the fourth state. I myself am the supreme bliss, which has no afflictions. I myself am the supreme bliss, which transcends all. I am the one, limitless, supreme bliss. Be happy ever in such conviction. This is 17. I myself am the bliss that reveals itself as wonderful. I myself am the supreme bliss which displays itself in variety. I myself am the supreme bliss which arises as a mass. I myself am the supreme bliss which exists taintless. I myself am the supreme bliss which comes as the conquest as the mind, of the mind. I myself am the supreme bliss that is not comprehended by the mind. I myself am the supreme bliss that shines like the sun. Be happy in such conviction.
I want to say something.
I want to listen.
Your name is your name is that, you, Steve, and you, anybody else who might be listening. Because you said, Amba is here, and like if I think of Amba, that's this. And I can't and I don't want to negate that, because if I negate that, I'm taking myself to be something that I'm not, So then if we read this and it says, I myself am the bliss that reveals itself as wonderful, like that's what I am. Well, like I'm beyond that, but like all these words are saying what I am and what you are as well, not Amba as being different from you. Like the same thing, all of us, all our names are the name for that I myself am. I know it's just stating the obvious, but like I just like to state the obvious. I do it for myself as well, like stating the obvious, because you could easily, well, I mean, I could see how like one's mind could get into thinking, or believing themselves to be special, like I myself am bliss. Oh, but like you are something else. I'm sure like mind gets into that, like, and it can play out like that. So I just want to be vigilant that that doesn't happen. So that's why as well I'm just saying out loud for myself, because it's only myself.
Vigilance is the primary word that Hanuman comes back to over and over and over again, and I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah. Because the mind can trick in like a million different ways. So somehow I was talking with someone about this, and I suppose if you think of it like real thinking of it, like thinking it, like maybe it can sound like you're doing something and you have to do something real hard, because I was saying it feels like I only know my own experience really, You know, like maybe there is a state that someone can reach that they don't have to be vigilant. But I suppose his teacher was Papaji as well. And Papaji always said, like I've heard Muji saying that Papaji said, like vigilance till the last breath. Look, my hand is like, but like vigilance till the last breath. And I see that and I feel that. And it's not like that you're like here all the time and it's like I'm being someone who has to be vigilant. It's almost like the consciousness, because it's discovering itself and maybe it's even discovered itself, you know, so it doesn't want to fall back asleep, you know. So the vigilance is just it's almost like a natural thing inherent in consciousness, you know. Like why would you, it's almost like if you put your hand in a fire one time, you're not going to do it again. You could call that vigilance, but like it's not really vigilance. Really, it's like inherent. You're not going to want to hurt yourself again. So in the same way, like consciousness, you know, like when it wakes up to itself, but it still knows that it has the potential and the possibility to be asleep. I don't know if they're really the right words, but that potential is also inherent in consciousness, and that's why the vigilance is kind of uh I don't want to say needed, but like that's why the vigilance is an aspect of consciousness or something. Because I was saying it to someone before and they were kind of saying, yeah, but I read some Buddha quote and the Buddha quote was saying something like that, like he he or his mind like is beyond ever being concerned with the possibility of ever um believing anything again. I don't know exactly the words, but you can't really negate. I don't know what like someone else's experience if you know you only know your. But I'd go with the vigilance. I'm on Papagee's side on this, and Hanuman's and
Mm,
Luigi's.
beautiful. Okay, one more, and then we get into the only one thing. So, I myself am the supreme bliss, which shines as the truth. I myself am the unhindered supreme bliss, which is of the nature of that. I myself am the supreme bliss, which shines and is pure. I myself am the supreme bliss, which transcends happiness. I myself am the supreme bliss, which is without any defects. I myself am the supreme bliss, which is omnipresent. I'm the supreme bliss, which is the undivided non duality. Be happy in such daily conviction.
It sounds so soothing, doesn't it? Be happy in such daily conviction. It's just like daily all the time. Like it's just an ordinary normal thing. And it is. It is an ordinary normal thing. But just the sentence, the way it's done, it's very just yeah, like just the same as the sun comes up and goes down. You know, just it's just casual. Even that is amazing, is it? If you
Mhm.
get into it, you know.
Well, there's a certain effortlessness there.
Hmm.
And I know I've mentioned to you before, and you've been very helpful with me about trying and trying and trying and trying in
Hmm.
whatever way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, can I read a few chapters?
Please.
Or not chapters, but verses. Did you want to go
Yeah.
to 19 or did you want to skip it?
So the only one things I think are particularly interesting, but there's four of them. So it's Amba's choice.
Okay. Only one thing is of the nature of existence. Only one thing is of the nature of consciousness. Only one thing is of the nature of bliss. Only one thing is of the nature of the pure supreme. Only one thing is of the nature of the non-dual. Only one thing is of the nature of the undivided supreme. That one thing is the supreme Brahman, and that is myself. Become liberated by such conviction of oneness. Only one thing is of the nature of the motionless. Only one thing is of the nature of the imperishable. Only one thing is of the nature of the great. Only one thing is of the nature of the incomparable. Only one thing is of the nature that delights the mind. Only one thing is of the nature of complete. I don't know how to say that word. Quiescence? You always tell me.
Quiescence.
Quiescence. Quiescence. It's like some variant of quietude or
Feels that way. Huh?
something. That one thing is the supreme Brahman, and that is myself. Become liberated by such one-pointed conviction. Only one thing is of the nature that is egoless. Only one thing is of the nature that cannot be pointed out as this. Only one thing is of the nature that is without possessiveness. Only one thing is of the nature that is unequaled. Only one thing is of the nature that has nothing apart. Only one thing is of the nature that is omnipresent. That one thing is the supreme Brahman, and that is myself. Become liberated by such non-dual conviction. Only one thing is of the nature that is without desire. Only one thing is of the nature that is without anger. Only one thing is of the nature that is without greed. Only one thing is of the nature that is without enjoyment. Only one thing is of the nature that is without infatuation. Only one thing is of the nature that is without envy. That one thing is the supreme Brahman, and that is myself. Become liberated by such non-dual conviction. I love that, especially part when he says, only one thing is of the nature that cannot be pointed out as this. So like it's not something that you can see, you know. So even though it's saying only one thing, it's like not a thing. Because anything you can point to, but it's not a thing that you can point to.
We're not talking about a mental accomplishment here, are we? If we point to something as this, we've objectified it. It's an
Yeah.
object.
Yeah.
And now I own it. Mm.
And yet it's inherent in all objects, is it? in and as all objects.
Mm.
Funny.
Mm.
But that's it. It's like if you look at an object with your mind thinks it's an object. But somehow if you look, I don't know, you can't, I don't know, you just have to say some words. But kind of like if you look with your heart. But it's more like if you look, or maybe it's just like if you look from yourself, you know that everything else is yourself. So like this cup itself, it's not an object. This cup is actually not an object. Isn't that mad?
It is a little bit off the regular approach to the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why, like, I'm just kind of speculating, but like, that's why the discovery can continue, like, deeper and deeper all the time, because it's like you discover in your heart, like, that which, what did that say? What it cannot be pointed to as this. What was
Mm.
the words it used? Like, only one thing is of the nature that cannot be pointed out as this. But yeah, because the world, seeming world, is so full of objects, like this cup or whatever you can see around you, all these objects, you can discover it all the time within all the objects. Like you're discovering it all the time over and over again. Like so somehow that can just hit you in certain moments, because you might be experiencing a cup as an object. Like I to be honest, I never thought about it before. Never thought about a cup not being an object. But right now, because we're talking about it, I feel like amazed. I'm like totally in awe of this cup right now. Because it's not an object. This cup is like God, isn't it? Not just this cup.
Well, I mean, it goes to this thing too, which is, like,
Yeah. But in a way, like that's just a way of looking as a, like it's a type of perception, and it's a nice perception, but still just a perception.
the next bit here is, I think, why I love Ribu so much. It's because he's sort of giving me a plan B and C and D. It's verse 26. Even if one does not have the capacity to be of such conviction, by untiringly reading aloud in sonorous sounds the subject of the undivided supreme, the mind will become perfectly one-pointed, and the conviction of being consciousness alone will grow, whereby the knowledge of the endless undivided supreme will arise. One can thereby attain the undivided state of liberation.
Isn't that nice? Can I read it again?
Please.
Where is it? What number is it?
26.
It's great because we are actually reading, and whoever reads it is reading. Yeah. Even if one does not have the capacity to be of such a conviction, by untiringly reading aloud in sonorous sounds. What does sonorous mean?
I have no idea.
I might look it up in a minute. By
Okay.
untiringly reading aloud in sonorous sounds the subject of the undivided supreme, the mind will become perfectly one-pointed, and the conviction of being consciousness alone will grow, whereby the knowledge of the endless undivided supreme will arise. One can thereby attain the undivided state of liberation. It's like I heard that Ramana Maharshi used to read like with some devotees, and he said that by reading it or even by listening to it, like you actually get into the state that it's pointing to. Did you hear it? Maybe it says it at the start of the book or something.
And yeah, well, and they told me when I went to visit Nome that people used to pass the book around
Yeah,
in Tiruvannamalai, if I'm saying it right.
yeah,
And Ramana loved this book and used to encourage people to read it.
yeah.
And yeah.
And you can feel it, can't you?
Oh, totally.
Like at least in our meetings, and like when we're reading it, and just when we meet up to read it, I can totally feel it. I don't know what it would be like for somebody else who is listening. Maybe I talk too much. No. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what it'd be like for someone listening to us reading. Hopefully it has some benefit. At least it's benefiting us. At least. Thing is, you actually don't know, you just don't know what anything does. But you kind of do. Like, so this is saying that it has just by reading it. But that's what I wanted to say. I want to say like by reading it or by hearing it, because that's what Ramana Maharshi used to do. So I'm usually, well, I mean, I'm listening to you read it, and it has the same.
Beautiful.
I love reading those things in kind of these kind of books. Someone gave me once a copy of the Avaduta Gita when I was 28, and I'd never heard of it before. So that was like 10 years ago now. I was 28, and at the last page, I read it, and I enjoyed reading it, and I understood it to whatever capacity I could understand it at the time. And then I remember on the last page, it said something like, even if you just read this book, or something, it said something like that, even if you just read this book, you will attain liberation. All who read this book will attain liberation. And I was just like, felt so happy. I didn't even know I was wanting to be liberated. some part of me probably knew. I didn't consciously know. But I just felt like so joyful. Maybe it's because when you're reading words and you kind of know that there's some kind of truth in them, and then you read this as well, so it's included with those. And yes, free.
Well, I mean, we're all a little bit thirsty, you know, and
Yeah.
what's gonna satisfy that thirst in a higher sense, if you will.
Yeah.
It's you know, the quest for the relief that comes with that's
Yeah.
nothing further to do.
Mm.
27. By such conviction, liberation will come quickly. By learning, liberation will come gradually. Hence, if seekers after liberation want to attain undivided supreme liberation quickly, they should resort to the continuous practice of the sanctified conviction and truly practice this for a length of time. They who are incapable of attaining this by conviction alone should read this aloud.
That must be us then.
That's right.
That must be us. Life
right,
is
so,
making us that we have to read it. We have to read it. This is being given to us. So we're the ones who are slow to learn, obviously. We've been given this job. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind. What route we have to take? What difference does it make?
there you go.
No, I'm just half joke.
Well, I have to say that I'm really enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Not wanting it to be different. A little bit more often.
It's always like that, isn't it? The things that we enjoy, we want it more. I was just saying that to my partner last night. It's like anything, even Esham. Like anytime he's really enjoying Kinder eggs these days. He'd be in the middle of eating a Kinder egg. You know what Kinder eggs are? A little chocolate egg, and you get a little toy in them. And he's like, "When am I gonna have a Kinder egg again?" And he's still eating the one he has.
I know that one. So in verse 28, he's offering a little bit of an explanation.
Will I read it? The past impressions of differentiation over a long period of time, that I am the body and all the world is permanent, can be destroyed only by the practice of steeping oneself in the undivided conviction, and cannot be easily eliminated by stray thoughts of steadfastness in the One Supreme. Hence, one should train oneself ceaselessly in the conviction of the undivided Supreme. Can't argue with that.
What's coming to mind as
Sorry,
what's coming to mind as an equivalence with vigilance is training oneself ceaselessly.
No? Yeah, like it's same. Like they say in India sometimes. I used to hear them saying like same but different. It's same but different. It's actually really good, like because like it's like everything is the same, but like it might seem to be different. Same but different. Hence, son, you should ever be of the uninterrupted, divisionless conviction of the Supreme. If this is not possible, read aloud the declaration: I am Brahman, I am all, without any ideas of difference. Attaining knowledge thereby, you will become liberated from the tentacles of transmigration. This is certain. Do not have an atom of doubt about this. Is there any doubt about what our Lord has said?
Tentacles. Do you want to be trapped or wrapped up by tentacles of anything?
No, really. But like when I'm reading this, I kind of feel like, to have the conviction, to have the conviction that all is Brahman and I myself alone, and that like Satsang, if you're in Satsang with someone. Like it's really that, isn't it? That's all they're pointing to. You know, anyone who is a good teacher, any of the great teachers that I have been blessed, I suppose, to come across, they're just saying that over and over again, over again. And even like I remember kind of half joking with an auntie before and just saying, like, you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. You know, it's like, yeah. It's like there isn't anything else to say, really. And that's all what that song is for, isn't it? It's just to, it's really for that, to have the conviction that just that I am this that can't be pointed to. It's almost like the nature of the mind to throw up doubts, you know. So that's why it's great to be in satsang with someone over and over again, because it's just an opportunity to dispel doubts, because they will come. Are they the tentacles? Did it say something about tentacles?
Doesn't say any more about what they are, but it associates the tentacle scenario with transmigration. Like you have, if the tentacles have you, then you're a body, and guess what? You're going to have to endure everything painful. Yeah, everything painful that goes with being a body.
Yeah, it's like the tentacles are like, yeah, like the doubts, like they're just like a tentacle pops up. Prompted by love, I have told you, Niraga, in the manner the Supreme Lord expounded to me earlier, so that all the seekers after liberation may recognize this subject of great importance, that all the world is the Supreme Brahman, which is the undivided, unattached, supreme bliss, and that I am, and attain the state of liberation immediately. Whoever hears and understands this thoroughly, even once, shall himself become the supreme. Some undisciplined ignorance say that due to multifarious causes, such as time, all the world will arise as an effect. Their arguments are entirely wrong. By the power of the Supreme Shiva, the ultimate refuge, all is a superimposition on the substratum, the Supreme Shiva. Even that superimposition also is realized to be the undivided Supreme Shiva, if one inquires into the truth. So what does this mean? Even all is a superimposition on the substratum. So it's basically saying everything is just, it's like kind of saying like everything is on the screen of consciousness. So it's just basically saying everything is consciousness. It's like different words and superimposition. Now that doesn't come into my vocabulary very often.
I like to use it because it makes me feel smart.
Yeah. Like I notice myself sometimes I'm just going along and like I just come out with this word that like it's never come out of my mouth before. I'm like, wow, like I was doing the cooking the other day. This might not be a really big word. Okay, I thought it was really big for me. And I had to make everything ready at the same time, you know. I was putting something in the oven and turning this cooker on, this cooker on. And I said to my mother, I said, I have to be very meticulous about what I'm doing. And I was like, ooh, meticulous. I was like, I never used that word before. And it was like perfect. It just fit in perfectly there. That's like somehow your mind and being, like it just stores the words and then they just come out. So maybe I'll start talking like that someday. I'll be like, yes, the superimposition. I'll just say it at the perfect moment.
It goes right with substratum. I mean, substratum.
I know. That's far out. It's like that though. We're just kind of, no, someone else said this is a, but this is the nature of what I'm going to say. It's like we're actually just recycling everything. Like we can't come up with, we can't and don't really come up with anything new. Like there's nothing ever new in consciousness. It's just like being recycled all the time. It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Well, the analogy there is that, for me anyway, is that it's always right now.
Yeah. It's kind of like not cool for the ego, because the ego, or like the person who wants to be separate, they want to do something special and something different and something new, you
Mm.
know. So it's not such a cool idea. It's like I want to think of a new idea, maybe it might be like a business idea or some kind of idea that's going to help the world and it's never been done before, and I'm going to think of this idea. But I don't know. I don't know what it's possible.
Well, where that comes up on this side is very much related to retirement, which is common, to retire at 59. Well, okay, let me compare that to everyone else I've ever heard of or met. Oh,
Yeah,
that's early. What's going on there? What will I
yeah,
do? How will I feel?
yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting little internal swirl of conversation.
Yeah.
Bubbles up.
Do you have a date that you're actually going to retire, or you're just kind of mulling over the idea still?
We have a target.
Retiring.
It's somewhere in first quarter of next year.
That's exciting.
It is. It is. Honestly, the scariest part is letting the kids know that, we're going on extended vacation.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
were two girls who were abandoned at birth,
mm,
breaking the news to them that their parents are moving out of state
yeah,
is, that's a thing.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
we're working with each other on that, Sarjana and me, to
yeah,
sort of prepare ourselves to bring that across gently.
yeah,
Mhm. So that's the challenge, but we'll get through it, and
yeah,
we're not leaving them in our hearts. So,
yeah.
mm.
Well, I read the last two verses.
Please.
If tested by the Vedas, by reasoning, and by experience, the illusory world, the individual, and the supreme are all only of the nature of the supreme Shiva, the substratum of existence, and nothing else different. Noble soul, whatever is said here is all the truth. Thus did Ribu clearly explain to Nadaga about the unparalleled supreme. It is the infinite form of our Lord in a state of joyous stance that says, all is the unattached absolute, which is existence consciousness bliss. And the supreme liberation can be attained by the differenceless conviction that the non-dual absolute is always I.
Mm. Mm.
So I want to know how it was when you went back to work. You were saying that like when you go to work, something happens. Oh yeah, like what was it? When you go to work, that you don't
Oh, it's about
feel like
being someone, being
yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot less clinging lately. Like if something happens that, previously I would have said, "Oh no, that's wrong. That's unacceptable."
Mm-hmm,
There's a lot more let go.
mm-hmm,
A lot more let go. And a lot less needing to be right. And it's beautiful. Yeah,
mm-hmm,
it's nice. It's nice. There are some things that I'm still trying to learn. It's a little frustrating, but some support is appearing, from the right people and in the right way. So
mm-hmm,
there's a little bit of ebbing and flowing, but it's a whole different level.
mm-hmm.
And
You
you
know,
made a go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, it's not even that like the behavior or anything has to change. You know, like your behavior could be still completely the same, like whatever it is that you normally do in work, like even if you're telling someone what to do or asking someone to help you, or even if you're getting a bit like stressed or I have to do this now or whatever it is, like still nothing, none of that means that you're a someone, and it doesn't have to. You don't have to pick up the idea that you're a someone just because you see a certain behavior, whether it's even if it's frustration or, because everything is the supreme. Always,
Mm.
always, always. So it doesn't matter, like it includes all the behaviors, so really the only thing that needs to change in our way of being in the world is uh, our mind, and that just means our belief that we're someone, or whatever it is, whatever the belief it is that plays. But like that's like a kind of good foundation. It's a good um, kind of core belief, isn't it? Because it's another way of saying like that I am something I'm not, or like if you're a someone, because you're not a someone, because no one is a someone. No one is a someone. No one's a no one. Is no one a no one, or is no one a someone? Or is someone anyone? Or is anyone no one? What? That was like a little poem. Sorry, did you want to say something? All right.
Only that, no, only that this time with Amba is so nourishing that if there's any little piece of a drag that you're feeling about me reaching out to meet each week,
No,
okay,
not at all. You're very I find you very light and very nice and easy,
okay,
and no, like I don't feel any like neediness or anything. Or if I
okay.
if I did, that would be my issue anyway.
Well,
But I don't feel anything. Like it's all good, and you're
okay.
more than welcome to. Like I'm always happy to hear from
Okay.
you.
I say that because, there were a couple times lately when we didn't get together and, the thoughts that came, well, Amba has a partner, she has a life, she has a child, she's very far away.
Yeah.
Um, and there's this strong desire to both leave you be and to serve. And if serve means offering to get out of the way, then I'm willing to do that.
No, I'm very also very grateful for our time together, and it's also very nourishing here as well.
Ah, good.
And sometimes, I talk to, I don't have a lot of time to be in satsang,
Yeah, yeah.
just based on my own like schedule. Then I have to fit into someone else's schedule. So
Mm,
these kind of meetings I have, like I meet with maybe 3 or 4 people during the week.
okay.
They're all
Okay.
a little bit different, but for me, they're kind of like satsang because we're meeting together in the name of truth,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what satsang is, isn't
For sure.
it? So it doesn't matter. It's not about the words or where the words come from. For
Mm,
me, it's not. It's just about like the meeting is that we're just meeting in the presence of truth, and that's enough. It doesn't matter what the form is
mm.
for me.
Well, I'm so, so very grateful.
I hope you have a beautiful day. Do you have a day off?
It's Saturday, sure. Yeah. There's celebration tonight and satsang tomorrow with Hanuman and about 70 people. And yeah, it
Nice.
should be beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the beginning of a great weekend.
enjoy. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll come and join Satsang again sometime.
Yeah,
I,
of
I
course.
didn't really get a sense for what it's like. Like I didn't hear a conversation. It was maybe I don't know what was happening, but say he was having technical issues or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That was an odd exception.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time, the space is very, very beautiful. So
Yeah.
come when you can. Are you getting the invitations?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as you're getting them, then come when you feel.
Yeah. So
Okay.
enjoy your celebrations. Like, enjoy the bliss.
I will.
Mhm.
Okay. Namaste.
Namaste.